Good afternoon, good morning, everyone, from everywhere you're joining us from. Please confirm if you can hear me. Hello. Hello, can anyone hear me now? Okay, thank you. Thank you for joining today's webinar session. Today we are talking about a very crucial topic. But before we go into today's topic, I want to briefly introduce A4S to you. Hi everyone, I'm Adebayo from A4S Limited, and at A4S we are an audit and advisory organization. We also offer training services. As you can see, we have quite a number of services that we offer. We offer business GRC services, IT GRC services, sustainability services. So if you need an audit or you need our advisory services on all of these 6 areas, we are your best bet. And we can send you our business profile because this is quite a lot to go over. So we'll send you our business profile so you can go over everything that we do and get like an in-depth knowledge of everything that we have to offer. So let's go into today's topic. Please permit me to. Okay, can we all see my screen? It is still loading. Please, can anyone see my screen? Okay. Thank you, Shagun. Okay, so thank you for joining us today once again. I'm going to introduce myself again. I'm Adebayo and I'm your host for today. And today's conversation is about building strong brands with ISO 20671. And I like to pose this question. I don't know if we were all aware of this standard beforehand. Like, was anyone aware that there's actually an ISO standard for your brand? Please go to the chat room and let's make this interactive. Today's conversation is not just going to be the same talk about branding. Today we are going deeper and we are exploring how brands create real value, not just what you see, but in how people perceive your brand and the way you position your brand as well. And interestingly, well, there's an actual ISO standard for your brand, which is ISO 20671. And this is a framework that, okay, next slide. This is a framework that takes brand value beyond your logos and taglines. This standard helps your organization to measure how much your brand is actually worth. And we are not even talking about money. We're talking about, your reputation. What is the worth of your reputation? Your trust, your experience, your performance. As it says that you can't manage what you don't measure, right? So this standard is an international standard that guides how organizations assess and manage brand value. It aligns brand strategy with business strategy, right? So it's not all about, okay, you have a brand. Is there structure? What other strategies are you, putting in place to ensure that, okay, you're not just building a visual brand that what people see? What is the story that people can attach to what they see about your brand, right? And if you've ever wondered like how to build a brand that lives in people's minds and not just their eyes, you're trying to build a brand that people not just see, but they can attach a story to it. And this session is for you. And we have two brilliant speakers today, both bringing powerful industry experiences and real life insight and strategy that actually works. But before we get into that, there's going to be a little activity that we have to do. Yes, this one is even quite easy. This is very, very easy. And then the radio says that I'm not a product, yet I make people choose you. I'm not a logo, but I'm often seen in one. I live in perception, but I shape business direction. What am I? This one is very easy. So please drop your thoughts in the chat room. What are we talking about? And while you're doing that, I'll just go ahead to introduce our speakers. So first off, we have sorry, there was a little pause there. Okay, so first off, we have Miss Nene Obichie. She's a Chief Marketing Officer at Taran. She has a strong background in strategy, storytelling, and making brands speak to the right audience. And she's very passionate about helping organizations find their voice and own it. Joining us as well is Mr. Dolapo Ogunbambo. He's the Chief Operating Officer at Insight Publicis. He has over 17 years of experience across multiple industries, from marketing to customer acquisition and leading high impact campaigns. He's a powerhouse of insight when it comes to building purpose-driven, profitable brands. So get ready and take notes. Drop your thoughts in the chat. Drop your questions in the chat because we're going to be answering all our questions about branding and how to build strong brands. And let's make this an interactive session. So without further ado, I'll hand over to our first speaker, Ms. Nene Obichie. Please let's give them a round of applause. Let's react and drop our applause in the chat room as well. Please let's welcome Miss Nene. And
thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. I hope you're having a swell day. If you can hear me, can you just use the thumbs up emoji so that I can know that you're hearing me? Thumbs up emoji. Perfect. So hold on. Let me share my screen. Oh, Yinka, are you the one going to be sharing the screen?
should I share your screen, ma'am?
Yes, please.
Okay. Okay. Please hold on.
Okay, while we wait for her to share the screen, if you can just drop in the chat box where you're joining from and what you currently do. So let's just get to know each other while we wait for Yinka to share the slides. Where are you joining from and what do you do? Are you a business owner? Are you a marketer? Do you work in banking? Do you work in a fintech? Just drop it in the chat box. Okay, hi, Chegu. Chegu is a laboratory officer at Unilag Yaba. Oh, we have somebody joining us from Ghana, Dotse Gati, sustainable leader. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We have several people from Ghana. We have someone else. Okay, that's still, oh, Francis is also joining from Ghana. We have Wisdom, who is from Ghana, a software engineer. Nice. Are there any Nigerians here? Okay, Samuel from Ghana is a business development. We have Godwin, who is the CMO for Think Group. Where's Think Group in Godwin? Is it in Ghana or in Nigeria? Nigeria. Nice, 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 nice. Oh, do you want me to share the screen myself? We have Dalat, who is a student. He's studying a MSc in Sustainable and Environmental Studies in Nigeria. Welcome. Godwin. Godwin said we might need the services. Andrew from Ghana as well. Promise from Nigeria, business development. Benjamin from Ghana, Next Growth Africa is a management consultant. Welcome. All righty. So can everybody see my screen? Thumbs up if you can see my screen. I'm not seeing any thumbs. Can you see my screen? Thumbs up.
I can see your screen now.
All right. Okay, so welcome everyone. Like I was introduced, I'm Nene Obichie. I'm a chartered marketer and a strategic communications advisor. And today I'm going to be walking you through why brand evaluation is not just a marketing activity, it's a business imperative. So at the end of this session, I want us to take 4 things away. And one is every organization needs to evaluate its brand. Why? What you as an organization should be measuring, how to align your internal identity with the external perception, and practical steps to turn your brand insights into business outcomes. In today's competitive, noisy marketplace, brands are under a lot of pressure to do more than just look good. They must perform. It's not like in the old days where people, leaders were more focused on just profit, and they were not talking about the brand. Today, boards are asking leaders, they're holding them accountable for return on investment on their brand investment. So if you did this huge brand campaign, how much is it going to bring to the business? That is where we are at today. So we're seeing a rising demand for brand-led growth, brand resilience, and authenticity. So what is brand evaluation? It's a strategic process to measure the strength, performance, and perception of a brand. Notice what I said. It is a strategic process. So it's not something that is just done in isolation. It is a strategic process. And it goes beyond just your logos, your visuals, to assess the impact, the alignment, and the equity of your brand. It also helps to align both internal identity with external perception. So like I said, it is structured. It involves both qualitative and quantitative metrics and insights. And the ultimate goal is to guide better decisions. It's not just to measure it for the sake of it, it's to make decisions for the business. Why does brand evaluation matter? You may be wasting resources on messaging that doesn't resonate. You see, your brand is a business asset, not just a marketing tool. Without evaluation, growth is guesswork. What that means is that you're wasting your resources on messages that doesn't resonate. Of course, it covers your strengths and your weaknesses, and the evaluation can connect performance to your perception. So you can miss a lot of opportunities when you don't leverage your brand as an asset in sales, in hiring, in partnerships, and even investor relations. Brand perception may go unnoticed until it's too late. When you've already started missing opportunities, that's when you realize that you've made a mistake. So what are the key dimensions when you want to evaluate your brand? First of all, we know that. Can you guys hear me? Brand strengths.
Yes.
Okay. So we know that strong brands outperform competitors in price resilience, customer retention, and employee loyalty. So let me give you an example. You've heard of, how many of us here have heard of Planet's bottling company? I'm sure not a lot of us. But have you heard of the Coca-Cola bottling company? Yes. If today you receive a job offer from Planet Bottling Company and the Coca-Cola bottling company, just be honest. Which of them will you take? Or as a contractor, you get a job to work with Coca-Cola bottling company or Planet bottling company. Which of them will you go for? Can somebody answer? I want this class to be very interactive. Just raise your hand up if you want to answer the question. Anybody?
We actually responded in the chat box.
Okay, so Dallas, can you tell me which of them will you choose? Dallas' hand is on.
Okay, yes, I will choose the Coca-Cola bottling company.
And why is that?
Because of their reputation and how they are known globally. They are more...
So you realize that's, so more or less what you're saying is that they have a very strong brand. They've been able to, over the years, build a very strong brand that has helped them. So even like, for instance, the Planet's bottling company, I'm sure their beverages are cheaper than Coca-Cola's bottling company's beverages. But when you go to the market, because Coca-Cola has built, they've worked extensively on their brand, you will want to choose a Coke bottle instead of the Planet's own, even though Coke's is more expensive. So that's the importance of strong brands. They outperform their competitors in price resilience, in customer retention. You see, some people can tell you that they know the difference between Coke and Pepsi, right? I have a sister that drinks Coke, and she will tell you that even if you pour it in a cup, a glass, she knows what Coke tastes like. She will prefer Coke to Pepsi. It also helps to uncover hidden value or liabilities in your brand. It enables you to benchmark, to improve, and strategically position for growth. Like I said, for stakeholder perception, it builds loyalty, trust, and emotional resonance. That's like my sister. She's emotionally attached to Coke. If you give her Pepsi, she'll tell you that she doesn't want Pepsi, she wants Coke. It gives you value in the minds of the markets. So how do you evaluate internal brand strengths? There are some key areas that organizations should evaluate. One is relevance. Is leadership committed to the brand? So, and I'm glad that today we are seeing the importance of branding in organizations. Like over 17 years ago when I was working in the bank, at the time, the communications department was made up of just like, I think 4 people, and they were junior officers. So because the bank did not see the importance in branding at the time, they were more interested in getting profits. But now you can see that most leaderships are now committed to their brand. They are building big marketing and communication teams. So one of the ways that you want to evaluate your internal brand strengths, you have to make sure that the leadership understands the importance of it and they should be committed to the brand. Without the leadership being committed to it, then you will not have success. Because if leadership doesn't see it as something as important, they will not put the adequate resources to it. And then, of course, we know what will happen. Is the brand strategy clear and embedded across departments? You have to be consistent with your brand. The brand experiences has to be aligned across every touch point. So every department, it doesn't matter whether you're in IT, you're in HR, you're in admin, or you're in sales. The strategy should be clear and embedded across all departments. Is there consistent training, communication, and brand culture? Yes, there must be. That's how you evaluate your internal brand strength. I remember in Zenith then, they used to make sure we all the men wear red ties. That was like, everybody knew us as wearing red tie. And the girls, most times, or the women, most times they wear red dresses. That was a way of us communicating our brand culture. We were a red brand. So how do you start evaluating your internal brand strength? First of all, you have to start. So we've spoken about evaluating the internal performance. Now I want to evaluate the external performance. You have to ask yourself this question. What is your market position and visibility? Are customers choosing you over your competitors? Do you have strong awareness, preference, and conversion metrics? And how, so how do you start to evaluate your brand? First of all, hold on. Okay. What do customers say about us online and offline? So you have to start small. Get your customers' feedback. So you do both internal brand audits and brand perception surveys, and it doesn't have to be anything big. If I were to ask somebody now on this call, let me see. Sorry if I'm going to put you on the point. Godwin, can you unmute your mic? Is Godwin Onubeji? Are you on? Okay, Godwin doesn't want to, he doesn't want to. Okay, somebody should volunteer. Anybody, raise your hand up if you want to volunteer. It's just a simple question, nothing much.
Okay, we have two people raising up their hand.
Okay, so let's see. Okay, Dotse, tell us, what industry do you work in?
I work with a consulting firm.
Oh, so do you do brand perception surveys for your consulting firm?
No, please, not necessary.
Do you gather customer feedback from your customers?
Please, we do.
How do you do that?
Oh, we do that by sending out emails, and sometimes we also place calls to find out how they view our services, and then the impact that it has created for them within their organizations.
And then what do you do?
So we use varied, where we are into management services, we are in business advisory. Okay. So we use different methods to gather customer feedback.
Sorry, the person you called cannot be reached at the
So when you capture the customer feedback, what do you do with that feedback?
Sorry, the person you called cannot be reached.
We use it to guide the entities that we provide services to, for them to be able to actually be on the right track of their services and the services or the roles that they play in their various industries.
Perfect. So that's how, we can start by evaluating our brand. customer feedback. Just, you can start small, just do like a perception survey. Every time a customer does something, you send them or every time you serve a customer, you send them a survey. Or sometimes even I've seen it in emails, you know, how did we serve you? Just click yes, no. And then that's how you're able to evaluate how your brand is doing. Also, you can use tools like Net Promoter Score that helps in checking the health of your brand and the sentiment analysis. And if you're not a small organization, you have the resources, it's always good to work with brand experts or agencies, but you must ensure, you know, before you do it, ensure that, you know, your own leadership is aligned with them. So what does brand evaluation unlock? First of all, it helps you with better resource allocation, which could lead to strategic action. It gives you stronger investor confidence and partner alignment. It helps with clearer internal culture and employee advocacy, deeper customer loyalty, and ultimately, a brand that works for your bottom line. I gave the example of Coca-Cola. I can also give the example of several strong brands, like maybe Nike, for instance, or Adidas. Or if we come to Nigeria, we have some strong brands. Strong brands like Flutterwave, we have Paystack, you know, because they've built that strength in their brands, it's helping their bottom line. So like I said, once you've been able to do your brand evaluation, you can use it to lead strategic action. You can close perception performance gaps. You can adjust your messaging. You see, when I was talking to, what was his name now? He said something that when they get the feedback from their customers, and they now, you know, adjust their strategy accordingly to see how they can improve their customer service. You can use it to train your teams, and you also have to have repeat evaluation so that you can track improvement. So there's no need for you to do a brand evaluation if you're not going to use it to track improvements. Anything that you cannot measure is failure. So you have to have metrics that you track to know how successful your brand evaluations are. So just my final thoughts. Every organization has a brand, even if they haven't defined it. So your brand is not what you say, it's what people remember and repeat. So even if you think that, oh, we are not doing anything in branding, people remember it and they repeat it. Strong brands, they build trust, they attract loyalty, and they fuel growth. So what it means is that evaluation gives you clarity, it gives you control, and it gives you the confidence to grow. Now, if you are not actively managing and measuring your brand, the market will define it and do it for you, and it will often not be in your favor. So start simple with simple evaluation tools to guide smarter brand decisions. Thank you. If you have any questions, this will be a good time to ask, or comments or feedback.
All right, thank you, Ms. Nene, for that beautiful presentation. If you have any questions, please drop your questions in the chat room, and our speakers will be very much eager to answer your questions. So while you're dropping your questions in the chat room, we can, hand over to the next speaker, Mr. Dolapo Ogunbambo. He's on the call.
Thank you, Oyin, and
All right.
Nene, that was a wonderful session. Well done. It was very instructive, very concise. And I'm thinking that maybe we should even call it a day from here, because it's covered everything that anyone interested in marketing and marketing communications should be looking to gain. So thank you. Okay. I think this would be the right time to share my screen.
Yes, sir. Did I share your screen or you do that?
I will do that now.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Please confirm that you can see my screen, and please confirm what you can see. Yeah.
Okay, we can see your screen now.
Okay, great. So yeah, today, so I just again stretch the thoughts further, maybe with a bit more of some practical cases, so that we can begin to bring home some of the things that Nene had touched on when, she was speaking with us. Sorry, I'm just trying to, I think okay, can you still see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, sorry.
It's still on the first
Can
slide.
see my screen, but I can't see my screen. I can't even see what I'm presenting.
So I can see the first slide of your presentation.
Okay, great. Then let me carry on. So now we'll be talking about unlocking brand value through strategic measurement. And measurement because it is very, very essential that we measure. But why does evaluation matter? Again, some of those things has been spoken to or have been spoken to earlier on by Nene, but more importantly is taking evaluation into actionable insights, because that's then what will drive the difference in how brands perform or are being evaluated in the public. So how then do you do that? Think about this. When you're talking about strong brands, what is it that they will look to achieve? Strong brands will always look to drive preference for themselves amongst potential or already existing customers or consumers in the case of fast-moving consumer goods. They'll also be looking to drive loyalty, because it's not enough for you to be preferred. You want to be preferred every time. But in also being preferred, you want advocacy. I don't just want you to, patronize my brand. I also want you to, in addition, go ahead to do what? To tell people about me. It then means that my product quality must match the expectations of the service or the promise that I have put to you as a potential consumer or customer. And if I do all of this right as a brand, then I should be able to command pricing power. So some of us have seen that, brands in certain spaces will continue to command a lot of, patronage, irrespective of the price point that they take. For people who use, of course, almost everybody on this call, and I dare say that everybody on this call will have reason to use mobile devices, especially smartphones. Think about the fact that a lot of people year on year will keep queuing up for the next edition of the likes of the Apple devices, of the likes of the Samsung devices. But there are some other brands that when they bring their own premium brands to the market, they can't command as much pricing as these other brands that I've mentioned command. Why? Because those brands have built their equity to the point where they are valuated high. So equity building from a model that Kantar has put together that looks at the consumer journey and how that affects sales, and matched it against the decision funnel for consumers. Of course, the decision funnel, a couple of us, if not all of us, will be conversant with this, which leads from awareness, to consideration, right down to how it affects preference for brands, then driving purchase, and also hoping that, you know, if we do things right, our customers, our consumers will be able to advocate for our brand amongst other people. I mean, to other people. So think about it, that equity in the life of the growth, some of the things Nene have talked about to say, what does it contribute to the brand? Will contribute, is estimated to contribute in terms of growth, cumulative growth to a brand, 27%. And equity is focused on driving future sales, because the more you know about this brand, the more people want to be associated with the brand, the more they want to relate with the brand, the more they want to, you know, ensure that they are a partaker of this brand. And then you also look at activations. Activations are those things that you will do to boost current sales. Activations from the likes of promotions, from the likes of marketing, from the likes, I mean, to the likes of everything that you do to sell this brand and bring it closer to the consumer, that it contributes 12% to the growth, and that's focusing on current sales. And then thinking about what the consumers will experience, which is the product quality in itself. So if I buy this brand and then I go on to interact with it or to experience it, that should lead to repeat sales. But guess what? That contributes 7%. What does this say to you? It means that, yes, you must work on delivering a good product, but critical to growth is that you must build an equity that will create a pipeline and a potential stream of revenue for you. So it is very essential that you do things right to be able to build the equity of your brand. And I think Nene has taken this off. She's spoken about this. All of us know about Forbes magazine and how Forbes magazine is always advancing the cause of thought leadership, especially when it concerns business. The publisher of that magazine is quoted to have said that your brand is the single most important investment you can make in your business. Before people experience you at all, it is that brand that they see out there and how it is being perceived. Nene has also spoken to some of those things before, that then helps you to gain traction and gain prominence in the minds of consumers or customers. So if you think about it as somebody who is in business, writing financial analysis, you know, looking at economies and telling how businesses should be built, comes out with a statement that says your brand is the single most important investment you can make in your business, then we had better listen. We had better listen, because that is the path to success. The more you do things right in building the equity of your brand, the better your valuation, the more you'll be able to command a lot more pricing in the market space. The more your brand will be able to command more shares, more pricing for its shares in the stock market. So it has multiple implications for people when they choose to deliberately build the brand. And the only way you can do this is by measuring it, by evaluating it, and then taking the necessary actions to strengthen the value of your brand. And let's go to cases now. Brand finance is on a mission to consistently evaluate brands based on their value. For some, it is the level of awareness or the level of love, the quantum of love that people have for those brands. But I mean, to a businessman, this is most critical. This table you see on the right here, the most valuable African brands consistently year on year. You can imagine that MTN is top of that brand, and it's valued at $2.9 billion for 2025. That means that all that they have done in 2024 culminated into this. And why has MTN been successful in this? Is because they've consistently looked at the things that matter. So they have financial metrics and they also have non-financial metrics. Financial metrics will be capitalization, will be the value of the enterprise, will be how much cash they have that is free flowing, and of course the revenue they generated and the earnings before interest, tax, depreciation, and amortization. But those are financial things. Now, if you look at the ones that are non-financial, and will help to build a brand. He's talked about the brand strength. Nene has spoken to brand strength and the need to focus on some parameters to be able to measure it. He talks about customer loyalty. Again, I'll show you a bit of what customer loyalty can mean to the value of a brand and how it impacts the brand performance in the market. He talks about brand awareness. How aware are people of your brand? I mean, MTN has practically become synonymous with everything yellow in Nigeria now. So if you see anything yellow, you're expecting to see an MTN next. And you know that brand position and point of view of everywhere you go is as good as true, and it resonates with the life of people for a market like Nigeria. For those guys in Kenya, I'm sure that you would have your To Go, you would have your Vodafone, you would have your, even Glow is in your market and all of that. But the brands that consistently and strategically focus on building the equity of their brand while also matching the expectations of consumers will have more valuation for their brands in the market. And you also look at customer service. And then that's what's making them market leader. And you can see that this has happened across Africa for them. So all of these parameters, all of these indicators, if and when we do them right, we will instigate and generate the kind of results that gives more impact to our brand, but more importantly, gives more value to our business. So whoever is on this call that has a cottage business or you have a small and medium scale business, do not think of that business relative to the size now. Think of the fact that you need to build a brand that when you consistently do so, will be evaluated in a way that you can sell your business to investors at a price or a value that you yourself will command in the market. So those are the implications when we talk brand evaluation and how it affects brand equity generally. And what are the common gaps that a lot of people, that detracts or is a distraction from building great brands when you are evaluating? People are obsessed with the likes of vanity metrics. So it happens most times with marketing professionals, marketing communications professionals. Rather than going through all of the available data and being able to draw actionable insights, they want quick wins. Oh, so I want 2,000 likes, I want XYZ shares, I want XYZ mention online so that I can be very popular. However, being popular is good, but it then doesn't also mean that that is the only solution to how brands should be built. So if you look closely, you will see from data the path to success. And, the situations that arise demand specific, in some cases, bespoke solutions to the challenges that brands face in how we build equity for those brands. And of course, there are times that there is lack of alignment between the marketing and the business KPIs. So the business says, I want to be number one in the next 5 years. Now, what are those things that will make me number one? We then need to go to research. Research will tell us that in order to be number one, you have to fix 1, you have to fix 2, you have to fix 3. At times, it could be the product quality that you have to fix. At times, it could be that you have to fix the perception of the brand. At times, it could be that you have to fix the distribution For those who are involved in trade and logistics, you have to fix the distribution. At times, it could even just be that you have to, relook the entirety of what this brand means to people. So there's a lot that you have to do to be able to understand where the real problem is, and then begin to align that with the business objectives, rather than you choosing to do a feel-good campaign that may not necessarily translate into business outcomes for you. And of course, you have the challenge of inconsistent, less frequent measurement. And this happens largely in third world countries where infrastructure is a challenge, because data in itself is scarce, and it costs a lot to put the right infrastructure to be able to gather data that will give you some meaningful indication as to how to then, take actions or, draw actionable insights from such data. So those are the common gaps that you see. But again, are there ways to circumvent this? Yes, there are. It starts first by being true to yourself and deciding that this is the route to go, and be disciplined with it. We can't but, go back to data. You need to have the right data, but you need to be disciplined and focused as to how the data should work for you. You are not just led by data for the buzz of it. You would use data to drive the outcomes that you desire, and you must be dedicated to it. You must be disciplined about how you also interpret this data. So I'll give you a case. We've talked about this. Now look at the brand Glow in Nigeria, and look at mobile internet connections in Nigeria report that was put together. I mean, this is available from NCC. Now, look at what has happened. If you look to the right of that table, you would see in yellow the net performance score of the brand MTN. And look at the report that has been shared in previous slides for MTN, which to us, I mean, it's not a surprise that the brand is performing well across Africa, because, again, there is evidence in a market like Nigeria for that brand. But to the middle of that table, look at the scores for Glow. Now, one of the things that you will see is that Glow is heavily invested in visibility. So you see a lot of visibility for Glow in the market space in Nigeria. But guess what? That hasn't translated into customer loyalty, despite the fact that they have chosen to go a celebrity-heavy campaign route. They practically are the ones who pack all of the known celebrities in Nigeria into their campaign. But has that translated into subscriber uptake for them? Has that translated into significant results that is commensurate with the investment that they put in? The answer is no. So what do they need to work on? They need to work on customer satisfaction. They need to work on network performance. In fact, in Nigeria, there is a joke around social media that says that anybody who puts a post up on social media would say something like, "Good morning, my fellow Nigerians," and then we would say, "Good evening to you, Glow subscribers," because they know that their network is so slow that they would only be able to access it by evening. So that's how people feel about the brand. But look at what they are addressing. They are addressing more celebrity. And why are they addressing and using celebrities? The thinking is that if we use the people if we bring the people that people love, who have influence over them as the face of our brand, people will be more drawn to us. There will be affinity, and hopefully that will translate into patronage, and that will translate into business results. But I can tell you that it hasn't worked. And if they don't fix those things and look critically at their business to be able to address the things that will drive more equity for them, they would keep having this challenge in the market. So what should we be measuring? And I'm glad Nene has talked about this. You look at awareness. Awareness must translate into consideration. People must be able to, from every effort you put to market your product, people should be able to say, what is this brand saying to me? Why is this brand meant for me? then they should be able to try it. From trial, they should be able to experience and trust that it works, and then they would, prefer the brand. Again, Nene talked about internal and external. Now look internally. You have a brand that is performing well, but the greatest asset that a brand would have or any business will have are the people. So if you are not looking to take care of your people and consistently engage them to ensure that you are improving their lot so that they can give their best to the brand, then you would be having a problem. Look at the likes of Google that focuses on ensuring that they bring the lives of their employees into work such that you can have your family come to visit you in work, and it helps you to be more productive. That would always show in the quality of work that they put into your business. So for those of you who have businesses, either small businesses, medium scale businesses, or you're even just looking to start out, know that as much as you're building your brand, you're also looking to ensure that the people who help you to build the brand are in a good place and are happy about doing that. And then, of course, emotional and rational associations. You must look at both. Don't always say it boils down to the numbers. That's one mistake that a lot of business people make. Oh, it's always about the numbers. No. Beyond the numbers are only an indication of the symptoms of the business. Look to understand the root causes of the decisions that people take. What motivates people or your customers to take XYZ decisions? Why would my customers have a positive bias for my brand or for my business? Those things should matter to you. That's what you should also be measuring. You are talking about affinity. You are talking about why a brand should be preferred. For example, if you look at politics in America, at times in those election cycles and years, what happens is when you see several polls being conducted, you see things as flimsy in quote, to the mind of some people, that the decision to vote a president of a nation as great as America would be, I think that it looks like someone I can share a bottle of beer with at the bar. For that simple reason, you want to put the destiny of a nation at stake. But that's what matters to people, and we shouldn't discount it. So as you're looking for rational and empirical basis to evaluate brand performance, do not also let go of the emotional ones. And of course, you look at market share and price premium. This helps you to then play out well in the market, and you're able to control how the market operates to the point of you becoming the dominant brand or the category leader. And you're able to also, drive some things that will innovate your category or your sphere of the market, because you are that influential. So those things are critical for you as business owners, would-be business owners, to begin to focus on, to measure. And how do we look at this? There's a model around the brand strength model. It first looks at the input you put into building your brand equity. So what are the things we're talking about? We're talking about how much effort you have put into marketing, how much effort you have put into developing the product, because it's critical. Nene was talking about the fact that some consumers will be able to distinguish between cola brands, and they'll tell you, oh, this is this brand, that is that brand, because they know the difference. They know that there is a lot that has gone into, building the product in itself to meet the promise that marketing has put out there in the public for the consumers. Of course, you also look at corporate social responsibility. And corporate social responsibility these days, I think, is being used loosely. People should begin to look at corporate social responsibility that stems from the philosophy of the brand, so that people do not see a misfit with what you are doing and what your brand represents in their minds or in the public space. And of course, the experience with your brand. What kind of experience does your brand elicit for them, either from the point of personal use or from the point of bringing the people into the world of your brand? What kind of activations do you have? What kind of experience platforms have you created? And how does that help to strengthen your brand. That should be looked into. That's the input. And of course, what do you get in terms of brand strength? That then begins to indicate with awareness, with the level of trust, and there are parameters to measure this, a whole lot of parameters that then but helps you to narrow down to what is critical to growing your brand in that space and in the sphere of, equity building. And of course, you have to look at the relevance of your brand. It doesn't mean that because it's a specific people do not necessarily like or patronizing of your brand does not mean that your brand doesn't have the right equity. Perhaps the solution you are bringing on board is not significant to those group of people. So you need to be able to, through data, decide the actions that you will take that will begin to drive the business outcomes that you desire. But more importantly is differentiation. Your brand must mean something to people different from others. Look at the likes of Coca-Cola, the likes of Pepsi. To some people, when you ask them, they mean different things to people, and they will relate with the brand based on what it means to them because it is differentiated. For those who are at the lower rung of that ladder that have not created differentiation, it means that, well, I will associate with you either because of my present financial standing or the reality of my disposable income, or because those other brands are perhaps not available yet in my region, but there is a positive bias I have to some brands who have invested in building their equity, and those are the brands that I want to be associated with. So that plays out, and of course you would see that, as I'm saying it, in how it reflects in customer behavior. They would either prefer your brand, and then they would be loyal to your brand. They will advocate for your brand. And when they do all of these things based on what you as the owner of the brand has done right, it will come in financial outcomes. You will see that you can control pricing better and your margins will bring more profit to you. You would have increased revenue, you would command market share, and then your customer lifetime value, that's the CLTV, would of course be more, because you would see that your customers will travel the journey with you, will continue to repeat, purchase with you at every point in time, and you can bank on those customers and plan with them. Because at the start of the year or prior to a financial year, what businesses do is they sit back and look at what are our projections? And the projections are very, very simple. What will be our cost? What will be our expected revenue? And the revenue you are looking at is driven largely by sales. So if revenue is driven by sales, sales means that people must buy. The question is how many people? If my customer lifetime value is on an upward trajectory, it means that if I had 10 people buying my brand via products this year, and I put some incremental effort in all of the input pillar, then I should be able to get additional 2 people to buy it. What will that mean? It will mean that my revenue will grow by maybe a 20%. And then how will that affect the cost that I have to bear? So that's how the planning is done. But see that as mundane to some of us as all of these indicators and efforts are, it ultimately pans out in how business decisions are made and how businesses are being shaped. So it's very critical that we take this on board and we look to ensure that, we strengthen our knowledge and application of it. Of course, there is the ISO 26671 framework that has been put in place. And of course, you need to understand why it is critical, because they understand the importance of brand evaluation in sustainability, in business continuity, and how that also affects the environment and humankind on the long run. So there are 5 dimensions that they have put in. I'm not going to go into details of this. It's just to show us that it matters to the global community how brands are evaluated, how brands are built, the equity of brands, and what that does to the society at large. But one of the things that it says is that you must be very consistent in how you are evaluating your brand. You must be very objective in how you utilize the data and what it tells you and how you interpret it. And of course, every decision that you take, you must ensure that it is relevant to the situation at hand and it is relevant to the outcome that you want to drive as a business. So again, we just begin to look at some case studies. We've talked about how brands focus on things that may not necessarily matter. I take the case of a beverage brand in Nigeria. How many of us know the brand Desperados? Desperados, came out as a brand that was an alternate solution to people who do not want the feel of lager. And, they wanted something different. And Desperado looked at that and began to target a specific group of emerging drinkers, the Gen Zs. They were the ones who didn't like the look and posture of what beer would be, but they also wanted a taste of it because it looked like, the tastes that a lot of young people grow into. And they created something, but more importantly was the communication that they used to build the equity of that brand. But it will shock you that within the business in itself globally,
70% of Nigerians are well-fed, braving bold experiences and lifestyle brands.
So I'm just waiting for that video to play out.
Desperados is the go-to beer for Gen Z and millennials. Bold, unconventional, unapologetically different. With competition brands in the flavored beer category, we need how to change the game. We dug in into Gen Z culture, what drives them. We partnered with the rising streetwear designer and chart-topping Afrobeat superstar. Then, we reimagined a global campaign and made it boldly Nigerian. Desperados is now the #1 flavored beer in Nigeria with the fastest growing brand power. This is how Desperados stays bold, relevant, and unstoppable. Desperados, unleashing the unusual.
So you can imagine that brand taking cues from understanding how their consumers are behaving, the motivations for them. And you can imagine them doing so well that they have become the #1 flavored alcoholic beverage in Nigeria because they have the numbers they wouldn't just say that if they didn't have the numbers to prove that. So things as mundane to some of us as, oh, this is Gen Z culture, this is Gen Z vibe, they tapped into it. And guess what? Beyond just the product, which is the bottle or the liquid content in itself, they have built an equity for that brand, and they are also beginning to build different, and they've diversified their business to actually get more income and revenue for themselves. Now, this merch that they created, you would be shocked how much each one goes for. For those in Nigeria, imagine that you would have to buy a t-shirt for 150,000 naira, and it is fully subscribed. In fact, limited edition, the moment they create it, you don't even find it in the market because it's been sold out. That's how powerful brand evaluation is in building equity. Imagine that they continue that and turn it to another income stream. It's a fashion line. It's a separate thing outside of the breweries, and that grows in itself. So those are the potentials, those are the opportunities, and that's why you would see that beyond just saying, oh, grow me likes, because of course, for a brand like that, the thing to do is what do the Gen Zs want, or how did the Gen Zs behave? Oh, they behave by liking campaigns, sharing it, blah, blah, blah. They are looking for other things beyond that. And they've been able to sit down, decipher it, and, latch on it, and it's worked for their business. But there are tools to do this, tools to help you strengthen your brand. Some of them Nene has talked to. Stakeholder survey. It's important that you must know your customers, survey them at every point in time, and also begin to, be able to profile solutions to the things that matter to them, especially as it relates to your brand. Please, I'm going to pause here. Oyin, please, let me know when the time is up so I can, or let me just shorten this so that we manage our time, because I have a sense that we have spent about an hour, if not more, on this session, and I know we'll soon be ending.
Yes,
There's also...
you can just go over your slides, like summarize like the rest of your slides. So we
Okay,
can
thank you. Yeah,
hear.
then there's also for employees and then partners. And then you have brand health trackers. You need to know how your brand is performing in the market. The health of your brand is very, very instructive in the marketplace. And then, of course, strong performance management. That's to ensure that you promote and reward people. Your internal stakeholders are very, very important. Create an inclusive culture so that everyone in your brand ecosystem can thrive and succeed. And then, of course, audit and then benchmark against competition. I won't go so much into details of this, but another brand, again, that is using culture of their target audience to drive growth for themselves is, Pepsi. Look at the fact that a lot of people believe, especially in Nigeria, believe that pop culture is advanced by specific brands. And these brands, the moment you see them in that space, it's a confirmation to them that this particular experience will be worth the while because XYZ brand, the likes of Pepsi, are powers behind that brand. And that's working for that brand. And it's done a lot in terms of how the business of this particular brand, Pepsi, is performing. So how do we embed brand valuation into strategy? Because again, Nene has talked about the fact that brand valuation and brand building and brand equity, we must be strategic and intentional about it. Ensure that you periodically evaluate it. Some do it annually, some do it quarterly. Ensure that you are consistent with it. Then look for the brand metrics that directly link to your business goals. Ensure that you are focusing on driving that and milking the benefit out of it. Then, of course, all of this must go into decision making. So the results or the reports that you generate must be discussed and must be useful for actionable, for business actions. So you must look to generate reports that C-suite level decision makers would be able to act on. And then, of course, use insights to prioritize investments and fix brand gaps. That can't be overstated. We've talked about it in examples, the likes of Glow and the things that they should do to ensure that they are delivering value to their customers, which will ultimately result in business outcomes. So what are the 5 ways that we can build strong brands? First is to know that strong brands are built with data. Without data, you may not be able to do anything. Practically, it's impossible to build strong brands just by God's feeling. You need data to be able to do it. Then your evaluation must go beyond the marketing vanity matrix. It's not just about likes. It's not just about shares. It's not just about mentions. It's not even just about visibility. There is a lot that has to be intentional, that has to be strategic, that has to be purposeful in driving the outcomes that you desire. Then, of course, brand strength influences behavior. We've seen that in that table that Counter showed us, where future sales is driven largely by the equity of the brand. Then, of course, ISO 26671 provides structure. It gives a framework, and I'd dare say that some of us who are interested in, and I encourage all of us should go and research it and see how that can also help you get more clarity and direction for this. Then act on insights to strengthen your brand decision. Your brand in the market space. I'll tell you something. The most critical thing to take from data is actionable insights. Take those actionable insights, make business decisions with them that will deliver the outcomes that you desire. So for me, I say you just think of brand valuation as the brand's annual checkup, right? Think of you needing to go for a checkup every year so that you can understand your vitals, the statistics. What do I need to do? Do I need to change my diet? Do I need to exercise more? Do I need to do this? And that's what you're doing in order to stay healthy, to stay relevant, to stay strong, and you must be disciplined about it. So everyone on this call who is concerned about their health and how healthy they are, or how their well-being, should also do so to the brands that they are in charge of, or that they nurture, or that they're even about to birth. So how do I see all of this? I think that one thing is clear: strong brands aren't just built. It is not happenstance. We have to be deliberate about it. We have to measure. We have to go through the process of managing it, and we have to ensure that on a continuous basis, we are improving it. And that will be my 5 cents or 1 cent for this gathering. Thank you. Thank you very much for your time. Now we can have conversations. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Dolapo, for that presentation. So we have a couple of questions in the chat room. So I'm going to share my screen. Can you all see my screen? So the first question, okay, thank you. So the first question is what would you say about companies with strong brands but provide poor services to clients? So either you or
okay, I think I would go for that, and if Nene permits. Nene, can I take this, or you want to speak to it?
Sorry, I didn't hear your question. What's the question?
It's on the screen. Number one, please, what would you say about companies with strong brands but provides poor services to its clients?
Of course, you know what will happen. Okay. We can go ahead, but it's pretty straightforward.
Exactly. I even want to give because again, we learn from these sessions. Again, without any form of, and I say this with all sense of responsibility, without seeming to disparage any brand, we learn from these things because we are in a space to learn. Now, a couple of years back, there was a brand called Bank PHB. Now, that brand, what it did in the market in terms of promise with communication and all of the marketing effort, they elevated the category and sphere of financial service provision. This bank came out with communication that spoke to things like cars will run on water. We're already thinking like that. Cars will drive themselves. They had, as far back as then, ran campaigns that showed that there were self-driving cars. You can imagine a bank opening your mind up to possibilities with innovation. That was huge. So what did that do? That drove a lot of people to a brand that the expectation was future forward. But guess what? At the back end, they did not have the infrastructure, or had not put the infrastructure in place to deliver on that promise. So they had communication that drove a lot of people to their bank branches, but guess what? Then they now started having queues in the bank branches. They couldn't attend to people on time. They couldn't resolve issues within a specific time. And all of that effort just fell flat, because when you get to experience the brand, the brand in their physical locations, the experience is totally different. So that it plummeted whatever it was that they were supposed to experience in growth. So that's what happens to such companies when they have strong brands and their services do not match the promise that they put out there. Always remember, for those of us who are business owners, for those of us who are brand managers, for those of us who are potential business owners or involved in building brands, every time you have a point of view as a brand, you are making a promise to the consumer. You had better be able to match that expectation that you have created in the mind of the consumer with the quality of either the service or the product that you are offering to the public. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much for that. So the second question is, what's the role of customer service team in brand management?
I think I'll yield that to Nene.
Okay. First of all, customer service, usually you're the first point of interaction with any brand. So you play a very, very key role in brand management when it comes to your role. You're the one that's supposed to bring exceptional services. And without the exceptional service, you know what that means. So like, it's of course, the example that Dolapo gave, you have promised people that this is what you're going to give. And then they come into your bank branches and they're not receiving that service. What happens? You failed already. You're the one that brings emotional connection with your customers as well. So every email, every phone call, every chat, every touch point should be in line with the brand promise. So you are very, 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 very important when it comes to brand management for your brand.
Absolutely correct. In fact, if I write on that, for everyone who has a stake in building a brand, and all of us do, whether we agree or we don't agree, see every interaction as a pitch. So every time you have an opportunity to interact on behalf of this brand, it's a pitch. It's a pitch for the life of this brand. Thank you, Nene.
So the next question is, what's the difference between a business, a brand, and a product?
Yeah, so Nana, you want to take that? Or you want
No,
me to?
you can take that, yeah.
Okay, thanks. So it's a business is, think of this as, I don't want to go as mathematical as possible. Think of this as, they call it Venn diagram, as a universe. So the entire universe is the business. Inside that universe is a subset called a brand. Now, that brand, inside that brand, there is a physical evidence of what that brand represents. That is the product. So I will go back and use Nene's example. Think Coca-Cola. The entire company is called Coca-Cola. Let's, for example, in Nigeria, it is called Coca-Cola Nigeria Limited, right? In Coca-Cola Nigeria Limited, their objective is to run an organization, and this is me just giving an hypothesis or just, random expectations of what a business should do. We want to run a future forward business that is the leader by far in XYZ space. They have set that as a vision for the business. They have missions that they want to achieve. Now, in order to achieve this, they need brands to be able to connect with consumers. So they will have brands like Coca-Cola. They will have brands like Fanta. They would have brands like Schweppes and all the other brands like that. But in having these brands, how will they interact with ultimately the consumer? What is the physical evidence of our business in the hands of the customer or the consumer? It is that product. So Coca-Cola as a brand will express itself as a bottle of Coca-Cola. Everything that you have promised as the brand Coca-Cola, oh, I promise you refreshment, I promise you a great taste, I promise you this, I promise you that. Your product, which is the bottle of Coca-Cola, should deliver on all of that promise. Now, if it does, then it means that people will keep patronizing your brand. When they patronize your brand, it will ultimately affect the performance of your business. I hope that explains it.
All right, so the last question, I think this one largely speaks to what we do at A4S. So we haven't said how can an organization or individual acquire the international standard, which it requires two processes for organization and individual. But for organization, that is you would have to like go through the gap assessment, right? So you need to do the implementation, and then we at A4S we handle the audit side of things, right? And for the person that asks this question, you can reach out to us for more details so we can inform you about the next steps. For an individual, you can take a training as a lead editor or implementer and get certified as an individual. But for an organization to be certified to this standard, it requires quite a lot more like processes to be qualified for certification. And I hope we do not have any more questions, or do we check the chat room? Okay, so I think that will be all. Okay, so I think that's all we have for now. I think that brings us to the end of today's session. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Ms. Nene. Thank you, Mr. Dolapo. Thank you so much. And to everyone who joined and engaged with us, we hope you are really with a clearer understanding of how brand value goes beyond the logos and what you see visually, and how this standard can also help you to make that measurable. Please let's follow our speakers on LinkedIn. My colleague Philip is going to be dropping their links in the chat room. Please follow Miss Nene as well as Mr. Dolapo on LinkedIn. Also, you can follow us on our socials. The links to all our socials are going to be posted on our well. So if you'd like us to support you on your ISO journey, we offer audits and advisory services, and our partner that handles the implementation as well. So let's stay connected on LinkedIn, and until next time, let's keep building brand value. All the materials are going to be sent off at the bank. All the materials will be sent to all the experts. Please check the chat room for the information, the links to our LinkedIn, as well as our speaker's profile as well. Thank you so much once again. Please enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you, Mr. Dolapo. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much. So before I end the call, I'll just like wait for a few minutes for us to check the chat room and follow our speakers as well as follow us on all our socials. Thank you so much.